is needed in every city and every town across this country. Am I right? We have a bumper sticker on our car. We have a rental, or else you'd be able to enjoy it today. And it says, it's a picture of Obama, and it says, "Does this ass make my car look big?" There's some great bumper sticker makers out there, right? I want to thank Camille for bringing me out here, and speaking of things that make other things look big, I just want, for women and in the future, Camille, a clear podium? I have to hold my stomach in the whole time I'm up here. That is so not easy. I hope it makes you feel good to know that there are people like you all across this country. They may not look like you, and they certainly don't have that cute little southern accent that you have, but they're there because they believe like you do, and they care like you do. All over the country, groups like this are getting together, and I've had an opportunity to speak to many of them. And I think it's very encouraging to know that. And also, there was a writer for the DC Examiner. His name was Glenn Harlan. And when the Tea Party was in its infant stages, he had this to say about you. Over the next couple of years, these multitudes of virgin political operatives are going to acquire considerably more experience and self-assurance, which means they're probably going to become considerably more effective as well. He said, politics will not be the same when they're done. Haven't you proven him right already? It's already not the same. Last summer, a Rasmussen report found that 52% of U.S. voters believe the average member of the Tea Party movement had a better handle on the issues facing this country today than the average member of Congress. Anybody surprised? And sometimes it's good to go back and kind of look at where you started and the kind of progress that we made right away. And one of the examples that I like to use oftentimes is Bart Stupak, because I think this is an interesting story. When he announced that he wasn't going to run for re-election last year, about this time of year, he said it had nothing to do with the health care legislation vote. Anybody believe that? No. But think about this. Stupak always had 57% of the vote since 1992. He never faced a difficult re-election. Not ever. Not until now, and not until you. The Tea Party has become the most spectacular, spontaneous movement of all time. Don't you feel that? It's amazing, isn't it? It's genuine. It's strong. It took only 3 short months for all of us to grow tired of this current administration. 2009, in April, saw the very first Tea Party movement, and it was spectacular. It was held in Washington, D.C., and there were cities all across this country protesting as well. Since then, since April 2009, we've shown up in town hall meetings in congressional districts all across this great country. Just a few weeks ago, Gallup reported that 7 in 10 adults say Republican congressional leaders should consider Tea Party ideas in addressing the nation's problems. Can you believe that? 7 in 10 adults said that. Now that's pretty amazing when you consider that just a little over 2 years ago, we didn't even exist, did we? The Gallup poll also reported that 88% of Republicans, and get this, more than half of the Democrats, actually believe that it's important for the GOP leadership to take into account the Tea Party movement's position. That's an amazing feat. You should give yourselves a hand for that. That's neat. Because you know what that tells you? That no matter what the left is saying, no matter what the mainstream media is saying, people believe in you. They understand what you're saying. And it resonates with them. What the media is saying and what the left is saying does not. What you are doing is so vitally important for the future of this country. Don't ever, ever give up. And the left, they hate what we've been doing. They hate it so much they started name-calling right away. Remember that? How about just recently when Chris Matthews on MSNBC compared the Tea Party movement to the Muslim Brotherhood? Can you even believe that? Unbelievable. Yeah, some of us do believe it. You're right. Anyway, do you remember one of the earlier criticisms that we were an angry mob? Do you remember that? An angry mob. You know what? We were angry, but we were no mob. And make no mistake about this, our anger scares them. And not because they really believe that we're a mob. It scares them because it represents our discontent. It was a discontent that led to some of the largest gatherings in Washington, D.C., and in cities all across this country. It was our discontent that led to uncomfortable town hall meetings for many in Congress when we were debating the health care legislation. You remember that summer? And our discontent saw right through the lie of the 2010 recovery summer, which I personally needed a recovery from. I don't know about you. And that recovery summer led us into a midterm election like none other in the history of this country. That's what they're afraid of. But do not allow them and their fear to turn your anger into something you should be ashamed of. There is such a thing as a righteous anger, and that's what we've got. When we look around us and we see the body of representatives that do only what they want to do, ignoring the will of the people and the mandate that we gave them, when we see what could be described as a bold determination to destroy a country that God has set aside, when we see a threat to those things that we hold dear, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, what do they think we're going to feel? Be angry, but sin not. And ours is a righteous anger. And we have expressed that anger without fear and without sin. And today I'm asking you not only to continue to express it that way, but do it without apology. Don't feel uncomfortable about it. Abraham Lincoln once said this: the sin of silence, when they should protest, makes cowards of men. That's the sin. You are no cowards, and according to Abraham Lincoln, you are no sinners. We don't need weapons or threats or disparaging words. We need only to continue to do what we have been doing. The media and the left are the cowards, because their fear is that we have only begun to fight. Don't you think we've only begun? You know, and this is our message to Washington. If you conduct business as usual, you're out. If you refuse to represent us, we will see you to the door. If you think the Tea Party movement was only for the 2010 elections, you are sadly mistaken. Am I right? And if you think that we've been successful already, Washington, you ain't seen nothing yet. Really, we were in our infant stages, and look how much we accomplished. Isn't it amazing? Did you ever think that you would see anything like this? Did you think you'd have to see anything like this? Probably not, right? But think about it. What you have done in just 2 short years is a miracle, really, if you ask me. And we do it because we have a strong sense of future for our children and our children's children. Same sense that our founding fathers had. An obligation to those people that they never, ever were going to meet or know. Scott Rasmussen observed in his latest book that the gap between Americans who want to govern themselves and the politicians who want to rule over them is as large today as it was between England and the colonies in the 18th century. That's amazing. Time. Can you feel it? Do you have that sense? I mean, listen, I don't think that it's perchance or a coincidence that any one of you are here. I believe that we are all here for such a time as this. This is a very important time in our lives and in the history of our nation. That same writer that I quoted earlier for the DC Examiner also said this. He said the Tea Party is America's third great awakening. He said he came away from the National Tea Party Convention with the feeling that he had seen something important. You know what I think? He did. He saw you. He saw you. And the left knows that this is a movement that's bigger than they are. It's about ideas that have endured for centuries. Ideas that founded this great country. The idea of freedom for all. The idea of limited government. The idea of a constitution for the people and by the people. That's big. That's way bigger than the left and the mainstream media. The Tea Party movement understands the need to return to the Constitution, to hold our representatives' feet to the fire, as they're in Washington for one purpose, and one purpose only, and that is to represent us. Madison once said, in a democracy, people meet and exercise the government in person. In a republic, they assemble and administer it by the representatives and agents. As a republic, we the people elect representatives who are responsible to we the people. As Benjamin Franklin was leaving Independence Hall at the close of the Constitutional Convention, on that final day of deliberation in 1787, a woman stopped him to ask this question. Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy? And Franklin responded, a republic, if you can keep it. And that is our question to the 112th Congress right now. We have a republic still, hanging by a thread, but still a republic. Can you keep it? All of you here tonight fought a good fight. And we have to stay ever vigilant. There's so much more for us to do, and I beg you, make whatever sacrifice is necessary. We don't do this for ourselves. You know, we could easily say, you know what, let someone else worry about the increasing rule of government, the increasing debt, the increasing threat to our liberties, because that would be really easy. But if we love our children, then we do this for our children and our children's children. Are you willing to put whatever time and energy is necessary into making this country work again?
Yes.
Because it's interesting sometimes and important to go back to those who founded this country, who did it right. I'd like to close with a portion from Thomas Paine's Common Sense, because this really applies to us today. It is as relevant today as it was when he first wrote this. It perfectly illustrates Paine's ongoing support for an independent and self-governing nation. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will in this crisis shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of men and women. Tyranny, like Cal, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods. And it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. Britain, with an army to enforce her tyranny, has declared that she has the right not only to tax, see if this sounds familiar, but to bind us in all cases whatsoever. And if being bound in that manner is not slavery, then is there not such a thing as slavery upon the earth? Even the expression is impious. For so unlimited a power can belong only to God. I once felt all that kind of anger which a man ought to feel against the mean principles that are held by the Tories. A noted one who kept a tavern in Amboy was standing at his door with as pretty a child in his hand, about 8 or 9 years old, as I ever saw. And after speaking his mind freely as he thought prudent, he finished with this unfatherly expression: well, give me peace in my day. Not a man lives on this continent but fully believes that a separation must sometime or other occur. And a generous parent should have said, if there must be trouble, let it be in my time. Am I right, parents? So that my child may have peace. And this single reflection, well applied, is sufficient to awaken every man to duty. And this, I believe, is our call to duty, the only one we may ever have in our lifetime. God bless you, and I hope you continue on this course. Thank you for everything you've done.